Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review, and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today I am joined by Matt,
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
and we're here to discuss the book on his shoulder, The Fires of Heaven, which is book five,
Five,
six, five
yes.
in the
Five,
Wheel of
five.
Time. Of course, it's five
Um,
because we've been doing one a month and it's not July yet. So yeah,
oh,
we're
yeah.
here to talk book five. This is
Yeah.
a full spoiler discussion if you've missed any of our previous videos. So if you have not read The Fires of Heaven, please click away and go read the book. If you have read further than this, we haven't, so don't spoil it in the comments. So, uh, where do you want to start? Where do you want to start? Is
Well,
Moraine dead? I don't think so.
well, isn't this is like, I mean, I think we discussed it, something about like the lack of danger and things. And then we had this ending in this book where actually, I think for me, the ending of this book was better than the previous book. And we gushed a lot about the previous book's ending
Hmm.
compared to the first three. But I think, is Moraine dead? Like my initial thought was probably not. But then we have the land bit where the connection has been cut and
Hmm.
he's now off on his own, leaving the party to find his new Aes Sedai
Which is
owner.
definitely Nynaeve. We all know that, right? He's definitely bonded him to Nynaeve. 100%.
So yes, I mean that's sort of the thought process, isn't it? But we'll find out. So that suddenly makes you think maybe she is, but then like I don't know. You always like when people die, and especially this sort of older fantasy, like
Mm.
it's sort of the resurrection is quite common. And I know the gateway is kind of destroyed, but there was something the other side. It wasn't just death the other side of the
Mm.
gateway, because we know Matt. Matt actually did die, but came back.
Mm.
So yeah, and if she's dead, does that mean Lanfear is dead as well? Which would be a shame because Lanfear was really taking off in my estimations as such a good villain. And I know I criticised the Forsaken in the previous video we did about
Yeah.
being a bit lackluster. I just felt they stepped up their game this one. I thought so. Yeah, I don't know. It hit me. There's like emotionally, that was probably the most emotional bit of the series so far for me. When
Mm.
Moraine sacrificed herself, and then we had the letter where she sort of knew what was going to happen,
The
potentially knew what was
letter
going to
was
happen.
good, yeah. I
And I was
think
like, wow, okay, that was really good.
so what I think she did was ask the dudes in the doorway in Ruidian for what was going to happen, for a vision of the future.
Mm,
I think that that's been hinted at, whether it's actually whether I had read it on the wiki and they had spoiled it, or whether it's actually been hinted at. I'm pretty certain that's what's happening in that.
yeah, because we never get what she actually asks at that point. We know she went in and came out, but yeah, we
Mm.
don't get. Yeah, okay.
I think that that's what she asked for. I'm sure that she hints at it at the beginning of this book, that she knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Which is interesting as well, because obviously she's like very subservient and nice to Rand the whole book, and it's because she's obviously looking at the calendar, counting down the days, going like, "Ooh."
yeah. It does
Um,
become clearer because you think back. And I was thinking now, like how much information she's just trying to plow into him as well, like how to deal with people and like how the game of houses or whatever it's called. Trying to just fill his mind with all this information and constantly sort of badgering him to sort of because she knew there was a clock.
yeah,
Yeah, and
and
suddenly that becomes clear at that point because he's like, we've got ages yet. I don't need to learn it all now, kind of thing. But yeah,
and I think also you have um my other side of my like cynical. She's not dead. Is that would Rosamund Pike sign on to do and be the executive producer of the Wheel of Time when she's only going to be in for 3 seasons. Um, I don't know about that one. It feels like a no to me.
yeah. Let's take a different sideways view of it. Perhaps I'll change the storyline to fit it back in.
They have actually changed it massively. So in the season one of the Wheel of Time, Moraine is stilled at the end of season one.
Wow.
So she
Okay.
starts season two stilled, but the stilling is a bit less like it seems to have less of an effect on her personality than it does on some of the others.
Okay.
Um, but I guess while we're on the subject of stilling, should we
Mm.
talk about the whole rebellion of the White Tower? Which I thought, because that's the prologue, isn't it, as well? We start with Elida.
Well, we start with the Forsaken,
Hmm.
if I remember rightly, and then it does switch to Elida, sort of halfway through the prologue. Yeah, so we get both those. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we both loved the rebellion, the twist, the stilling of
Hmm.
Swan. I can't say her name.
Swan Sanche is
Yeah, I
how
read it in the
Michael
book. I read
Kramer
it in the
says
book
it.
and then carry on. I've even studied like the the pronunciation in the back of the book. I still don't know what it means, but anyway, her. Um, and that was brilliant in the last book. And then this one, I really like the Rebellion of the Tower is great. I think that's setting something up that the tower's broken. It was discussed before. Elida just doesn't have control
Hmm.
whatsoever, um, and was basically a puppet. And we've got who's her second in command, the white one from the
Oh,
White Archer. I can't remember her name, but she
yeah. She's the one
but
who
she has that
reaches
moment
out,
with
doesn't she?
Padan Fane as well.
Hmm.
So so we've got all that sort of conniving going on in still in the white in the tower, and then we've got the blue, most of the blues in Salidar, and I really liked it. What I liked is one that we've got the two factions. Uh, I enjoy that we've got something. It was interesting to see like the impact that Swan had when she arrived at Salidar, and like how even though she's been stilled, she sort of created this motivation for her, and she's still got all these attributes and skills. She's still able to manipulate people, basically,
Hmm.
from all the years of experience of manipulating people. She's still able to use those skills, even though she doesn't have the one power to do it. She has to be a bit more subtle and a bit more a lot more biting her tongue and
Hmm.
being all demure and, you know, yes, yes, I stay actions. Um, but she's still pulling a lot of strings. And
Hmm.
then I just enjoyed that we've got all these people coming together. So we've got Morghase's ex head of guards, whatever his title
Hmm.
was.
Gareth.
Thank you, Gareth Bryn. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um,
I thought he was really
who?
good because you get a chapter from his POV, and I quite like
Yeah,
him.
yeah. But it's nice because you get sort of obviously you see what's happening in with Morghese and
Which I thought was really good, that chapter.
which is really good. And what's going on there, and you sort of all these exiles happening, and then you I can't remember what it is, but then you get sort of Gareth Bryn, who's obviously now like a country gent,
Hmm.
and he catches Swan. Well, he doesn't catch them. They caught by the villagers because Loghain burns down gets in a tussle and burns down a barn basically, and he's now the local country lord,
Hmm.
and he has to dispense justice. And it's just the way she sort of again she's still so she can now lie,
Hmm.
um, but people sort of still expect her to tell the truth, which is an interesting sort of
I thought that was
gives her
funny
an
that
interesting
she
angle.
worked it out. She was like, well, I
Yeah.
can get away with this, so I'm going to.
Yeah, and even with the oath, but actually with the oath, she doesn't actually lie.
Hmm.
Like she doesn't actually like technically wise, she does stick to it. It's just yeah, it's very well bending to almost breaking the oath. But
That's
I think there's a lot of opportunity to build on what's going to happen. Actually, we've got Gareth Bryn trying to build an army for them. But if I remember rightly, Elida now knows where they are
hmm.
from the
I think so,
notes, so she
yeah.
knows where they are. So I think, I mean, who knows? Because we seem to jump storylines a fair bit now. So whether they'll be in book 6 or not, I don't know. But it feels like that is heading towards a collision
Yeah.
fairly soon. Um, and the same potentially with Mogadine. getting involved
Yeah,
because she sort of
definitely.
knows potentially where they are as well.
I enjoyed the stuff with her and Nynaeve, where Nynaeve like created an Adarm in
mm,
in Teleran Riod and was like, "Well, I've got you now, mate." I really
yeah,
enjoyed
but
that.
she knows she has to. It has to break when she wakes up. So,
Yeah,
but for that, so what was your thoughts on Nynaeve? Because this was like her, well, with Rand, her book, really.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, do you want it? Should we do some percentages? Should we do our
Go on.
classic?
I mean, it's got to be Rand and Nynaeve. I don't know who comes out on top, but both they're the top two by far. I thought,
So
unless I'm missing
yes,
something.
you are right that they're the top two.
Yeah.
So they're basically neck and neck. So Rand is
Okay.
29.9%,
hmm
and Nynaeve is 29.62.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So yeah,
when
they're
I
both the
look,
same.
yeah, when I looked at this, I was like, I thought we had a lot more Elaine POVs in this book than there actually were. She has like 4 whole chapters to herself, but
Okay.
only 6% of the book, which I was quite surprised by, and that's more than Matt,
Yeah.
who only has
Ah.
who has like just below 6.5%. She has 6.5, and he has just below 6.5.
Okay.
Um,
So I'd probably. So is that third and fourth? Because I'd
yeah,
have probably
no,
put Matt
Egwene is
third.
third, so
Okay.
it's
I'd have put Matt
Egwene,
third, I thought.
Elaine, Matt.
Yeah. So Elaine, I think we see a lot of because she's with Nynaeve.
Mm,
I think that sort of pushes the percentages, and probably Egwene because of Rand.
yeah,
Um, but we don't get. I don't feel. It's so interesting that Egwene is third because I didn't feel we got a lot. But then we had a bit with her with the wise ones, that Moraine, um, her and Nynaeve and Teleran Riod and stuff. So there's a bit there. And then but Matt, I thought it'd be more Matt. To be honest, it felt like this was. It didn't feel like he was in it a lot, but it felt more than some of the others. I think there was a more pivotal moments in his storyline, even though he wasn't in it by the sound of it that much. But it feels more. If that
yeah.
makes
I know what
sense.
you mean. It felt like he was in, or like it felt like he was very important in this book.
Mm.
And but then he's not actually in it a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's interesting because he has some big moments in this book.
mm,
He really does. Like, we start to see like how his mind is working and how the memories are now feeding in, and actually how great a general he is. And yet we've still got the Matt, the gambler, the one that wants to get away and have a
mm,
good time and not really be involved if he can help it. So we've got those sort of two warring sides, and then we've got his impact in the battle with the Shido Aiel
yeah,
and all that, and was huge. I mean, it was an interesting choice actually, because I mean, we'll come on to the next bit, but as I know we're going to talk about Nynaeve, but let's talk about Matt because I'm talking about it now.
yeah, definitely. I mean, there's
I
not
think it
much
was
to say, I guess, almost apart from the like you said, he's very big in the story in terms of his
mm,
importance, but very low on his actual screen time.
yeah. And what I thought was interesting is we have a lot of the battle with the Shido and Matt's perspective and how he seems to getting caught up in the battle, even though he's really trying to escape, and he's like ends up leading part of the army and going to victory after victory after victory, and actually killing um, Culloden.
Couladin, yeah,
Culloden. But that's done off screen, which I thought was an interesting choice
I thought that too.
because I thought we were really building to a moment for Matt of like a Perrin-esque from the previous book moment of Matt sort of in his glory, taking it. And it was interesting we didn't get that moment. We got a moment afterwards where he was sort of after the battle with Culloden's head on a spike and him sort of almost regretful
Mm,
of what's happened. But then we do get his moment. I wouldn't say to shine, but another pivotal moment with Milan. No, there's too
yeah,
many. Meh, meh. There's
his romantic partner, the Aiel,
yeah,
which
Melindre. No,
Melindre, I think, or
Melindre. Yeah.
something. We'll go with
So
Melinda, and just we all know what we're talking about.
there was another wise one with an M that I get confused between the two names. But yeah,
The
Robert
fact
Jordan's
that
naming
there's
conventions.
Egwene and Elaine are best friends and interact all the time. Come on, Robert. I can't remember what his actual name was. It's something funny. It's James something, I think. I'll have to look it up now. But
Yeah,
yes,
I forgot.
the yeah, I thought that whole thing was fantastic. How like she kind of singles him out, and
Mm.
then it becomes like this whole big thing. Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. That specific, that like interaction and that whole thing going on with them. Really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought
Um,
it was excellent, the discovery of her as a dark friend and just that, and him having, him killing a woman when Rand can't,
yeah.
was an interesting dynamic as well and sets them up for the future. Um, just on the battle as well, I thought what was well done and just added another dimension was the technology.
Mm,
The use of like they built a tower with like basically telescopes to see what it is, so he could, you know, him,
direct his
Elaine,
magic and stuff, wouldn't it?
Egwene, and Avienda could use their power from afar.
Mm,
So I thought it was, because you don't always see a lot of sort of technology in inverted commas in fantasy. So it was, and it wasn't huge leaps forward, but it was interesting just having that sort of artisan technology brought in
mm.
within it to build upon it. But yeah, so yeah, I thought Matt was in it more. I think he certainly had more of an impact. And I do enjoy Matt. I know we hated him in the first two books,
I think I've
but
fully come around on him now. I think he's a really interesting character. And like I think as we were saying earlier on, that they all have their conflict in that, Rand's conflict is he doesn't want to be the Dragon Reborn, but he has to
yeah,
be, and Perrin's is kind of like doesn't want to be the wolf, but he does want to be the wolf, and then now we've got Matt who like is a hero at heart and he's a very heroic character and is like rallying against that constantly, is like I don't want to save people, I want to look after out for myself, I want to be
yeah,
out for myself, and then he actually can't do it, he can't bring himself to do it.
no. I think he is interesting in that just because of that, because you've got of the three sort of main men in this, you've got Rand, as you say, Dragon Reborn, who's now sort of accepted that's his role and
Mm,
is embracing it, maybe too much with the Lewis Theron maybe taking over, what's going on in his head.
mm,
You've got Perrin, who obviously in the last book sort of, became the Lord of the Two Rivers, and you know, he still sort of protests, but not really. That he sort
mm.
of adapted to that role and wasn't in this book at all.
Which
Um,
I thought was insane.
yeah, yeah. After he was like the hero of the last book, just
Yeah,
no, doesn't exist.
yeah,
We did get that one scene in Televan Riyadh where they went to the Two Rivers and we saw like the standards
the banners, yeah.
banners and stuff in the green, but that was it. And hopefully he's enjoying his honeymoon. That's all I can say.
If you look at the Wheel of Time wiki, it says one of the three primary protagonists, Perrin Ibarra, is absent from this book due to his being in the Two Rivers celebrating his honeymoon.
It's
And
good that
like,
he get a break. We all need a break for these things.
it's so funny that it's like, oh well, he has to have a couple of weeks off, so that's just when the Fires of Heaven was taking place.
So, but yeah, and obviously, therefore, we don't get Loyal either for that point because he's
Mm.
over there. So, we miss a couple of characters in that sense, but
I
but
I would like to
they
see
sort of accepted
more.
their roles.
Yeah, I want to see more Two Rivers in the next book. I
Yeah,
want to know what's going on with Tam. I want to know what's going on with like all the families back there, which are really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. And what happens there? Because obviously, it's meant to be part of Andor, but Morghese is now
In the
on
wind.
the lam, and you've got there's no one now really in charge
Yeah,
of Andor unless Rand is taking over there as well, but he's not really there.
he's on the throne.
Where yeah.
Is
So
he?
is he now both?
Hmm. I think
Um,
I feel like he ends the book sitting on the throne, doesn't he? Am I
So
mad?
you might be right. Do you know what? I think I messaged you because I had to rush the last like 2 or 3 pages because literally I was going on holiday, people, and I didn't want to take this massive book on a plane. I was like, I desperately need to finish this. Um, I did sort of skim read. I know we got Asmodean.
Yeah, and
I remember him
also
sitting on the throne, but he may
Asmodean
have gone.
dead, I guess,
Yeah,
which
and
I
like,
was
what
really
was?
surprised by.
Yeah, that sort of dead again.
Mm,
Because obviously the use of balefire had its moment in this book as well about unweaving the tapestry of the wheel. I don't know how to say that, but anyway, uh,
I'm not hype
with
about the Balefire stuff. I feel like that it's a bit too story armor powerful.
yeah,
Um, I would like to see
yeah,
consequences for it in the next book.
yeah, it isn't. I think we said like when I sort of got to that chapter, we said it's a fascinating idea, but I am concerned that it's, as you say, it does create this ability to literally resurrect, which it does in this book
Mm,
effectively. Um, some of the characters die and then are brought back because Ravine is no more and his part of his past is eradicated, so they weren't actually killed.
mm.
And that's but from what I remember from when we first came across, I think Moraine was explaining Balefire. From I remember, the people still have the memories,
Yeah, people remember it, but
so they remember the events even though they haven't happened. So does
yeah.
that mean the people who died remember dying?
Well,
I
Asmodean
assume it
doesn't
does.
remember dying in his POV because he's trying to
No,
work out what happened to him because he's lost all that time.
yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
maybe not. It's just because I was just thinking about it because when we had that Rand first goes to Belfar against the hounds, the wolves,
Mm,
and Matt is actually injured, but then he's like, he's not. It's only a little bit of saliva rather than actual injury because
yeah.
he's taken that time back. But Matt actually remembers it. I'm just thinking, will they actually remember themselves dying and what impact that would have on their? But yeah, Asmodean, that was for him to come back and then I think it's like, but who was that shadowy figure that eliminated him at the end? That was
Yeah.
who knows?
No
Was it one of
theories
the other
there. Is
Forsaken? Was it someone
yeah.
else?
I don't know who's still going from the Forsaken. There's 13, right, aren't there? Because there's
It was 13. I think
and we've
we're
lost
down to
Balsamon, we've lost Rivian, Roy, whoever he is.
Ravine. Oh, I call him Ravine. I don't know if that's
Mm.
right, but we've lost. Well, Lanfear is now somewhere else.
MIA.
Uh, we lost. I feel like there's another one
And there's
somewhere.
two killed in the first book, aren't
Two
there?
filled in first book. So that's at least 5 down, I think, if
Yeah.
not 6. So we're
Yeah,
down
quite a
to
lot
like,
of them are donezo. We lost one last book. I feel like we lose one every book so far. Oh no, we
yeah,
didn't
I
lose
think we're
because
at
it
least 5.
was they were attacking Asmodeon and he stilled him instead.
Yeah. So I think we're 5 or 6 down now. So that leaves us
Mm.
with what, 7?
7, yeah.
So
There's
there's still a
enough.
fair few. And I don't think we've met them all yet, from what if I can put all my names. So Mogadine is still about. I know she was, you know,
Shamael keeps coming up, I think. Black Bale?
yeah,
Is Bale one?
I don't know.
Mm.
We'll find out, I'm sure. So, but yeah, so Asmodean. And what I think it'd have been, we got a little bit of it, but I think it would be nice to have some more of the Asmodean Rand sort of teaching
Mm.
element.
I enjoyed their relationship. I thought it was well
Mm.
done.
Yeah, sort of the power play and the lack of trust, but
Yeah.
the control within that was good. I think Rand is growing on me. Like, I didn't
Mm.
particularly enjoy him in the first couple of books, really, but I think he's becoming more fascinating. As we sort of he's taking on the role and he's becoming more of the Dragon Reborn and this leader and this really quite terrifying presence and power that he can wield, and it sort of grows into that, and you see more of sort of Lewis Theron
Mm,
mind also taking over as well, and him sort of battling to keep who he is. Um, that's really, I find that really engaging just to watch that sort of internal struggle that he's having to keep control of who he is and try and keep his sanity
mm,
as he sees it. But I mean, some of his actions, even as Randall Thor, seem pretty
pretty mad.
mad.
I really enjoyed when he was like, "If I must die, I will die as Randall Thor." I was like, "That's really interesting." Because obviously
Yeah,
Lewis Theron is also like very knowledgeable and powerful, and probably would be an asset in this conflict. But he's
yeah,
also, he's had his shot, and he's also completely mental, having killed his wife and children in the
yeah.
prologue. So
But it did make me actually. I did start to wonder if because Rand can obviously do things, he doesn't know how he does them.
yeah, I think
I
that's
just
where it's
wondered whether
come
that
from,
was sort
isn't
of
it?
that connection of there's someone sort of within his mind that's done it before and
That's
sort
my
of
that's my
feeding that
theory,
in. Yeah,
definitely.
that was what my sort of understanding of how that was working. Why you can suddenly do these things without knowing how necessarily. There's a subconscious Lewis Theron pulling the strings. So yeah, I think I like the fact that he refused the Sun Throne as well. That was an interesting part where he
Mm,
actually, they're all trying to sort of G him up to it. It was like, no, 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 no. I'm the Dragon Reborn. That's enough.
yeah, and I think that that's also makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
in that he's not a politician, really. Like he does it because he has to be, but he's like his focus is like I need to get all the stuff together so I can beat the Dark One at Tarmon Gaiden, which
yeah.
I do really like that it keeps coming up and how much it's
Mm.
foreshadowed and built up because we know it happens. Or like, you know, I know that there is a chapter that is like 400 pages that's called The Last Battle. And like just knowing that that is going to happen, it
Um,
might be 200 pages actually, but it is one of my friends
big.
said it took him 4 hours to read the chapter.
Okay. Okay, that's going to have to settle in for a good afternoon of that reading that one.
Yeah,
So
I think I'll
yeah.
be like, wife, look after the children. I'm going to read.
I think there's a lot of foreshadowing for that. Understandably, it's all part of the prophecy. It's the final battle. It's the end of I say the end of time, but that would be an
The end of the
error.
story, at least.
Yeah, exactly. I it's one of those things where it's going to be built up so much, it better be epic.
Yeah,
So it'll be the biggest letdown in history. But I'm assuming it must be pretty good because I've not heard anybody say actually this is gone
I
rubbish
think
ending.
there's very few people who I've seen who say it's not worth it to read The
Yeah,
Wheel of Time. And for at least for the moment, I think we've been reading bangers. Like these
oh
books have been great.
yeah. So I know I started off book one. I was pretty meh. It was
Mm.
fine. It didn't do anything for me. Book two was better. Book three was better. Book four was superb. That and this one was superb as well. And I think I can't. I'm really struggling to think which one I prefer, whether the last one or this one. Um, I'm really struggling. I keep going backwards and forwards. I think as a all the whole book, I think I preferred the last one. I
Yeah,
think for the ending, I prefer this one. I think this is a better ending, but I think the whole book is
I know
was a
exactly what
better
you
reading
mean. I
experience.
feel the exact same way. I think The Shadow Rising had so many things that I absolutely loved about it. And I felt like that I really loved The Fires of Heaven. Like, there was never a chapter where I was like, oh, I wish I wasn't reading this. But, like, all of the Nine Eve and the Menagerie chapters, I was like, I could absolutely do with none of this. Like, this could have just been skipped. Like, I hope that those characters are important when we see them again, because otherwise, what was that for, Robert?
You didn't fancy running off to the circus?
I just don't like. The thing that I thought was funny was when they had um, Elaine and Julian Sandar doing the tightrope walk, and like She was just like, "Go on, Julian, you've done this 1,000 times before." And it's like an old man. He's just being bullied by these two children in this, like walking between two poles on an invisible path. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is so funny. Like, I was just imagining it in my head, and thought it was brilliant.
Oh,
But like the whole Valiant Luca thing was a bit like, what's going on? I liked
yeah.
the like implication that there's Sean Chan everywhere.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. It's sort of the, I suppose, refugees from the war has spread about. Yeah.
and
That is,
I'm almost 100% certain that Matt's future wife is Sean Chan, because I'm
yeah. Well, there was
sure
something about the 9 moons
I'm
in one
sure
of the
that
Sean Chan elements.
I'm pretty certain that their leader is the Empress of the Nine Moons.
Yeah.
So is Matt going to marry her or
Was it a
her
daughter? Or,
daughter? Yeah,
yeah, because it was because it was the Princess of 9 Moons was
I
what they
think
said, I
so.
think,
Yeah,
rather than Empress. So I would assume daughter or some sort
mm,
of, whether it's actually a biological relation or how they do it in Sean Chan, I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah,
That's a good prophecy that I'm interested in seeing what's going on.
mm, yeah. I love the fact that Matt just asks everyone that he meets as well.
It's like, hey,
You
you
know who this person is? It's not supposed to matter.
I love the like zero fuck just goes around like, hey, we're not supposed to get married, are we? Because I don't want to get married.
Mm,
Very funny.
exactly. And I'm sure he
Um,
won't be particularly keen on getting close to any other women too soon. Then knowing
no,
Matt, he probably will.
yeah, he just might check them for weapons first. Yeah, I'd
But
like to
yeah,
see. I really want to see more Matt. I feel like in Dragon Reborn, he's basically the protagonist, and then we we barely see him. Like
yeah,
in Shadow Rising, he's got a really small percentage as well.
yeah,
Where is it? 7.3%.
yeah.
But I think I think Shadow Rising works really well for me because obviously um the Rudion stuff was really excellent. But I think that Perrin's stuff as the like B plot, as it were, was a lot
Mm,
stronger than the Nynaeve B plot. Even though I was more invested in the Nynaeve B plot because I really like Nynaeve and Elaine, Tom, Julin, and the Antoine Sanche and her fish puns. Um, like every time she does one, I actually like smile to myself. Like I'm reading the book and I'm just there going like, oh dumbass. Like
yeah. Well, you know, he must have created a hell of a long list of all possible fish-related puns that you could think of because it's
yeah,
quite there's some good, unique ones that come out of.
creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to
So,
bring in the net before you.
goodness me. Yeah, there's
And
too many of them. Too many.
who is it? Leanne? Oh, is it
Leandrin.
Leanne? Who's
Oh,
her best mate, the old keeper?
yeah, Swat. Yeah, yeah, the one
She
that
was
becomes
interesting.
the seductress
Yeah,
extraordinaire.
and I
Yes.
like that that kind of like gave us more of an insight into her culture because she's from where they've just left, isn't she? She's from where
Yeah.
Nynaeve's just left, which I
Yes.
can't remember what it
Yeah.
was. Was it Tarabon?
Um,
Or have we not been to
yes.
Tarabon yet?
I think it. Oh man, I need to get the
I'm,
map out again.
I'll be able to find out because it'll be on the wiki.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought it
Tanchico.
was
It's Tanchico.
Tanchico. Oh yeah, yeah, where we had the Black Archer in
Yeah.
Tanchico. Yeah. So,
Um, yeah. So
but yeah, no,
yeah, I thought that was good.
hmm, I think with Leanne and Swan, it's we've also got Nynaeve thinking that maybe there's a way to heal it and wants to study the stilling as well. I think
Mm.
that could lead somewhere, and that will be a fascinating way. And what does that mean for Logain as well? Like where's his arc going? Because we've still got Min's vision of him bathing in glory.
Especially
Where's that
because
going?
Rand has now made it legal to be a man
Yeah,
who can channel. So
yeah,
if you can unstill him and he can
Yeah.
channel, and he's going to be part of the crew. Okay,
Yeah.
definitely something going on there. I mean, it's
Definitely.
I would like to see the false dragons interact with Rand, knowing that
Mm,
he is the dragon, because
mm.
obviously you can pretend to yourself when you haven't met Rand al'Thor that you're the dragon reborn. But I would imagine when you meet the guy with the full arm dragon tattoos and the army of Aiel and the power to like destroy a
Yeah.
continent, you're probably
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe this guy's actually the dragon reborn.
Yeah. Maybe this is the real deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think so.
can't imagine we're far from that meeting.
No, I mean now he's declared that it is, sort of open season in that front. I think we will start to. Well, who knows? Because we may not see Randall in the next book. Who knows?
We've
But
not seen Mazra in time yet.
we have not. No, that's true. I think we should talk about Nynaeve a little bit more because
Mm,
she is a big arc, and I really like the last book. She had a great like fist punching moment against Mogadine
yeah,
in the previous book where
I'd say
she
the
went up
same again
against.
this time. Really, getting her in
Yeah,
the
well, this time
Adar.
we had a bit back and forth, didn't we? Because
Yeah,
we had the final with the Adam, where she was in control, but we had like the previous meetings where Mogadine had the upper hand, and we thought that may be it for Nynaeve, but Baguette. Is it Baguette? Baguette. I keep
Brigitte.
saying
Yeah,
I keep reading it as Bridget when I get to it. I know that's wrong because it's not spelled like that, but
I think that Michael Kramer says Brigitte.
Brigitte. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Anyway,
I think it's Brigitte. Yeah.
um, saves her, and I like the way we've got Brigitte now in the real world, pulled out of Teleran
Mm,
Riyadh as this great hero, and presumably this is her last life now.
yeah, she can't be
Um,
reborn if she's out of the cycle, I guess.
well, exactly. So that's sort of curious. And uh, Nynaeve is, I don't know whether to love her or hate her at the moment.
Mm. I
And
loved her in the previous books. I think in this
yeah,
book, I don't know if we got too much of her POV, and that's why she's a bit insufferable because of like, so she'll talk a lot about like, oh, I don't like Egwene telling me what to do because of XYZ, but that's fine. It's normal. It's sensible for me to do that. And you're like, well, you know you're deluding yourself. Like you actually know that. So, hmm,
yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of self-delusion. I find that quite humorous actually. Like some of the self-delusion where you can clearly see how she's justifying some of her own actions, and
hmm,
you're going, yeah, but you know that, or you get the other side and you see the sort of the look she gets from others when she makes decisions and things like that as well. But I think there was one chapter where I was getting irritated with Nynaeve, and that was the bit where she was had to. They decided that she was Elaine was going to be the lady. They were in disguise. They were on the run. Elaine was going to be the lady, and Nynaeve was going to be her servant maid.
yeah,
And we just get this. And it felt like the whole chapter. It probably wasn't, but a portion of the chapter where Nynaeve is just whinging about it constantly, and Elaine's
yeah,
like, "Well, you be the lady at the next stop," and like you're just like, "Come on, Nynaeve, you're trying to get through undercover. Mogadine is after you guys.
mm,
It's not like you can just be whoever you want to be, and you're only play acting for a little bit. It's not that big a deal."
yeah,
So I was really frustrated with that chapter. And I was like, this is really irritating me. And then there was other bits like that irritated me a lot. And then there was bits I found humorous where we got her like justifying the actions she was taking, and even though she sort of knew they probably weren't necessarily the right actions,
mm,
and also sort of got the bit where you could see what she was thinking. You're thinking, well, that's not how everybody else is perceiving it, even if you're perceiving it that way. I thought that was all well written. And then there was bits where actually, you know, you get the outcomes of her actions, and she has to come to terms with the outcomes of her actions, and also that she she's it feels like, and I'm sure she is, she's going through quite a transition of being from the first few books where she is very clearly, even though she's only a couple of years older, the older, wiser, she's the wisdom of the village. She has some level of authority. She's used to bossing everybody around back in the Two Rivers and that authority standing. And now everyone is growing and developing, and she is struggling to change. She is struggling to grow and develop and find her new place within the group,
Hmm.
because she's no longer the leader, really. She's no longer the authority figure, and it feels like she's there's parts of it where she just says that, she doesn't want to appear scared, so she appears sort of angry and aggressive. Um, and that sort of her defense seems to be, in many cases, her defense mechanism, sort of
Hmm.
go on the attack. And it seems the same as like just with the development of, Elaine and Egwene, especially, and the boys to a certain extent, but we spend more time with Elaine and Egwene and Nynaeve, and how they're developing as, you know, individuals and the power they're growing and how they can channel at will. And Nynaeve has that weakness where she's sort of blocked herself, where she can only channel when she's really, really angry. So she sort of has to keep that at the surface, like the Hulk. I think we discussed in the last one.
Hmm.
Just to keep that at the surface to be able to channel at any point and bring up the anger and what makes her angry. But it just seems like she's really struggling to adapt to these new set of circumstances. And I think and it's why I can't decide whether I love her or hate her, because there's bits that really irritate me, and there's bits that go, I can actually understand, this is a massive change for her, because
Yeah.
she left the Two Rivers. If you think back, she left the Two Rivers to come and save the kids from the village from disappearing off and getting into trouble and look after them and bring them home. And now she's sort
Hmm.
of enrolled in this much bigger scheme, and she's becoming an ever smaller cog within that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues as well is that, like you say, she's used to have this identity as being like, I'm the leader, I'm I'm the wisdom, I'm the person that people go to for advice. And then
Mm,
she was like, oh, she's a powerful channeler. And then it's like, oh, actually, well, Egwene's more powerful than Nynaeve. And then she's not very good at making these plans. So you're like, oh, actually, Elaine is smarter than Nynaeve. And I think Nynaeve is working that out.
yeah.
And so it's like she's losing everything that she probably thought of as part of her identity. So
Mm,
she's not the most powerful. She's not the smartest. She's not in charge anymore, really. She's not looking after or protecting anyone because Tom is doing a lot of that.
hmm
So she's losing her responsibilities and her identity because she sees herself by like the people she looks after. Um, and I think her character arc is super interesting, and I really want to see like seize the wrong term. I want to know where it's going,
mm.
but the thing that I am finding is that I'm not particularly interested in the way that Jordan is writing it at the moment.
Okay.
If that makes sense, it's like to me, her storyline is kind of the least interesting one in this book. Apart there's interesting stuff happening, but it's not. I'm not interested in it currently. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
hard to
Yeah.
hard to like pull it all together.
Yeah. And other thing I say, I drop in and out of, some of the bits I'm just like, "Oh, just very frustrating." And some of the bits that but you can see, as you say, see the bigger picture. And now with Lan now deserting her, potentially, maybe he's not, maybe he's going to her. We will find out. But that will change the dynamic yet again.
Mm,
You know, uh, I think her arc is actually quite fascinating. I think, as you say, it's difficult to engage with that. I find it difficult to engage with at points. I think similar to you, but it is a fascinating arc where, I think she is the one that is really struggling to come to terms with what's happening. We've got Matt who's dealing with it in a different way and just wants to get away from it, but can't
Mm,
because he's Taveran and he's just pulled to Rand and he can't escape whatever he seems to do. As Nynaeve is not, she's different to that, but she's struggling to find her place in a new dynamic as everybody else seems to be finding their place. Like Rand has accepted his place.
mm,
Elaine is sort of becoming this mix of Aes Sedai and Wise One and sort of adapting to Aiel culture and becoming this dream walker and having that sort of power and skill that no one else has. And Elaine is already a fairly sort of seems to be a fairly confident person. She's brought up in the court. She sort of knows how to handle herself in those circumstances, has that level of confidence, arrogance, some might say.
mm,
But she has that sort of self-assuredness
mm.
that perhaps Nynaeve does not. So I think I'm really curious to see how she develops and how she comes to terms with how life is now for her going forward. And we'll see what happens with Lan on that front as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, that
Um,
was good. I don't know who else we haven't spoken about. Who haven't we spoken about?
um, Egwene, I guess. And
Egwene and Avienda are probably ones
yeah,
we
I
haven't
was
spoken
just
about.
about to say, yeah, Egwene and Avienda, the two that I'm like, oh, interesting stuff happening with these two characters. Obviously, Avienda interesting because she becomes Rand's love interest in this book.
Yeah.
So Elaine and Rand haven't seen each other for an entire book, and now he's moved on basically, and we've got Avienda, who I like in some ways, and in some ways I'm like, just actually telling me like him. Like it's very obvious, and obviously Rand's too stupid to see it, but like just do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think with the love interest, I think I'm slightly concerned with where we're going with it. With like because we've got Min, Elaine, Avienda,
Mm,
and now Egwene off to the side really because she sort of stepped back, but all who are sort of drawn to Rand, and Rand is sort of drawn obviously to Elaine and to Avienda, and Min in a different seems to be in a different way. But we seem to be
mm,
heading towards a sort of polygamous relationship at some point between whichever combination of them end up. So that will, I'm curious how to see how he does that if that's the way it goes and how that works.
mm.
Especially if Rand is on his descending into madness and isn't and is Lewis Theron, and Lewis Theron has this the woman he loved who he killed,
Yeah.
uh, who we keep getting. I forgot what the name is, but we keep getting hints.
Elara? Something
Is it
like
another
that?
L? Is it
I'm
probably?
sure it's similar to Elaine, which is why I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake, Jordan. Um,
So we keep getting that sort of boiling up as well. So we've got those connections, emotions. So we'll see where that goes. I know he's Taveran and therefore people are sort of drawn to him, which has that impact. But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. And we have obviously now Avienda. I do like Avienda as a character. I do enjoy. I
mm,
think she gives us good insight into more into the Aiel and who they are and their culture, and how she is now becoming a wise one and no longer a maiden of the spear. So we get her difficulty within that of sort of the independence of being a maiden of the spear and now being a wise one lackey, I suppose, for a better word.
mm.
You know, as she sort of becomes this very minor person in the wise ones and gets bullied around.
The thing that I also thought was quite interesting was Avienda kind of calls Rand on his shit, and
Mm.
she doesn't treat him with the like reverence, because obviously a lot of the women in Rand's life are like are women he's known for a long time. So it's not,
Yeah.
most of them knew him before he was the Dragon Reborn, but like a lot of the other people in his life, like they only treat him as if he's the Dragon Reborn.
Mm.
So yeah, very. I think there's a lot going on in their relationship, which I really like. Um, I think Elaine's probably still my favorite love interest for him,
Mhm.
but not in a like, I don't know. It's not in a like, oh, I wouldn't be interested if it was any other character. But I did like, yeah, I do like them all really actually. Min, I feel like is constantly referenced. He's like, oh, Min would never make me put up with this bullshit, and you're like, well, actually, Rand,
Yeah, exactly.
don't
Sure she
don't
would.
don't get it twisted. I'm sure she's got something for you.
Yeah. What did you think of Elaine and Tom?
That was gross. I think I was very anti that as it was happening, and I was like, this is some. I hope that this is some weird unresolved daddy tension from Robert
Yeah.
Jordan, which I don't enjoy. Um, but it obviously could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. Yeah.
The bad things never actually happened, but it
Yeah.
was still very much like, ugh, I'm not. This didn't need to happen,
Yeah.
Robert.
It was uncomfortable reading. Let's put it that way. I was
Hmm.
like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. I couldn't understand justification for it either. It was
Yeah,
in fact,
it does. Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere in the fiction, and a lot of that, I guess, is because you don't get much Elaine POV this book, so it would have been normally built up and discussed if if there had been Elaine POVs, but there just weren't.
yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. 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 I think, yeah, I mean, that was the bit I was just like, no, I don't, this is just weird and wrong.
Mm.
And I still like Tom a lot. I'd like to see more of
Yes.
him. I still think there's definitely a Tom Morgaze moment coming at some point
Yeah.
in the future.
Feels
Uh,
like that's why they've maybe split Gareth Bryn and Morgaze apart, so that Gareth Bryn is now interested in Swan.
yeah.
Um, and what's it? She can reconnect with Tom.
Yeah. And I think you get the bit with Morgaze where she's going off, she's going to find allies wherever she can. Moment as well toward at the end of the
Yeah.
book, from what I remember. And I'm like, well, yeah. And Tom obviously knows how to play the game,
Yes. Yeah.
seemingly incredibly well. So would be a huge asset, even with their history and their past.
Definitely.
Uh, I still wonder if who is Elaine Tom's daughter.
Yes.
I'm still
I think
curious if
this.
that is the case,
Yeah. I
which
feel
makes
like there's
makes this
been.
whole bit in this book even worse. But
I feel like there's been hints at it, right? I'm sure they've
it
talked
feels
about
that
how
I don't know if
she
I'm just reading too much into it, but it
struggled to
feels
conceive.
yeah, it feels that way. I don't know if I'm just reading too much into it, but I certainly feel there's hints to that. There's more than just the Morgaze's lover after the fact. If she was that little when he was Morgaze's lover, I mean, how much timeline crossover is there at that point?
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
we will probably find out. But I think, yeah, Morgaze. I'm really curious now how what she does, because obviously she doesn't know that Ravine is gone yet. She's obviously disappearing off, trying to basically create an army, play the create some sort of force political game to get back into power. But now with Ravine gone, what does that mean when she finds out? Can she walk back in? Does Elaine get pulled into it? I don't know. It'd
Yeah.
be I'm curious
Absolutely.
to see how that happens. And as I say with Tom, potentially pulling strings in the background, got some way to go on that front, and how that feeds into Rand and what Rand's trying to do.
Mm.
Does it help and hinder? And what does it mean for Perrin? Because he's part of Andor in theory, Two Rivers. Where does
Yeah.
that fall if they're now Manatherin?
I feel like we're gonna see um Morghese hook up with Perrin. Like, I think that's where her I think her character is gonna go to the Two Rivers, and it will be
Okay.
the Manithran army that helps retake Camelin.
Ah,
Although I guess she doesn't need to retake Camelin anymore because Rand's done it for her. So
yeah,
maybe I wonder if Morghese has an ill-informed rebellion against the dragon and then is brought underneath the wing of Rand to be the to take over as like the prime minister basically of the Dragon Reborn's nation.
yeah. Or does she sit on the Sun Throne?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of really interesting things that could happen politically,
Yeah.
as well as a lot of things that could happen that I think would be really interesting in terms of the like interpersonal storytelling. I think Jordan's really nailed the balance in the last two books with having this interesting political environment and having this interesting personal environment
Mm.
and personal conflicts.
Yeah, I think there's been a bit like we always knew from the first book that his world building is fantastic.
Mm,
I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think, as you say, with the political intrigues we're now getting, and we've got like the Forsaken thrown into these political machinations as well. But the character development and character arcs we've seen of the main characters has been in the last two books has just been superb. Perrin's been
mm,
superb. Rand, I think, has really stepped up. Matt is growing. I know he's only had small parts in the previous two books, but he's had some big, impactful moments.
mm,
And hopefully he gets more. I think Nynaeve, we have our frustrations, but the turmoil she's going through is great. And that sounds horrible to say, but from a reading perspective, it's great.
yeah.
You know, and Elaine and Egwene, Egwene seems to be finding her feet within the IEL and sort of growing and developing there. I just think it's been so good. It's going to be. I assume we're going to have them sort of meeting up, maybe not all in one go, but different people meeting different people and just seeing how those relationships have changed as well. So when Perrin, presumably Perrin comes back at some point in some future book, uh,
Mm,
how he then interacts with the others that we've known before, now that he's had that huge development outside of the group that no one's really aware of,
mm,
what's actually happened. That should be really interesting. We've got the Aes Sedai, the splitting of the Aes Sedai, and now them trying to take the tower back. How does that play out? Um, who knows? That should be again could be a really telling moment within the book of how that works and how whether Rand gets caught up within that and how that potentially impacts uh, his storyline as well.
mm,
Especially as he's bringing men into Channel as well, and how the remaining Red sisters feel. We've got a Red. Um, oh God, what's the head of the Ice Sky called?
Amelin.
Amelin
Amelin,
seat. Yeah,
yeah.
we've got a Red that's sitting on the Amelin seat for the first time in 400 years or whatever it was. And we're going to have Rand saying, "Oh yeah, all men who channel, come to my banner. Let's take everybody." So I can't see Elida being particularly pleased with that development. So yeah, I think actually, one thing I want to say, just talking about Elida and Reds, I
Mm,
thoroughly enjoyed Leandrin getting her comeuppance.
yes, absolutely. Um, I think, yeah, really interesting looking at really interesting what's going on with the Reds with Elida. Obviously, Elida used to be Morghese's Aes Sedai advisor,
Mm,
so she's knows and has met Rand before.
yeah,
I think that there's definitely, I mean, the rebellion, the Aes Sedai like schism is very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing that expand. Yeah, I think is yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anything. else I wanted to talk about. But yeah, I feel like this was a very good book, but it was also like a middle book almost, because there's like a lot of big plot points, but like not much gets tied up or tied off.
Mm. Yeah, it feels like we're now in a bit where Jordan knows this is continuing. We've got plenty more books to
Mm,
come. We don't feel like we're reaching a conclusion, uh, the full conclusion anytime soon. And we know we don't not because we know we've got loads of books left. But it feels like from Jordan's writing point of view, as you say, it does feel like a middle book where actually it's a great ending and we have some really dramatic moments at the end, but there is so much more
mm,
to come, and it feels like we're feeding into so much more. So I have no idea how Jordan's contract working with publishers at that point as to how many books they were committing to, but it
yeah,
feels like they were committing to quite a few more that he could really get into it. And yeah, just a step up that we've seen in this series has just been, for me, dramatic. Like from the first book to now, like the
yeah.
last two books have just been two fabulous books
I think
that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
4 through 6 are meant to be the best of the set.
So, well, we'll look forward to the next one. What's the next one?
Lord of Chaos.
Lord of Chaos. Yeah, got
I
that there,
also
so
don't know what the Fires of Heaven means. I didn't. I don't. I read the whole book. No idea what it's referring to.
it's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought about that. What was the actual title? The title mean? The Fires of Heaven. Maybe we missed something quite critical to our
Mm,
understanding of the story. I'm sure they'll let us know in the comments without spoilers for future books. Fires of Heaven. I don't know.
yeah, tell us in the comments if you know what you know what this means.
I'm trying to think
Um,
where we had fire. The only fire I can think of is Ravine getting set alight by Nynaeve
yeah,
in Teleran Riod, which is not really heaven, but um,
interesting.
nothing else. No other
Mm.
fires of heaven are really springing to mind. But hmm. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about what the title actually means.
I feel like the Shadow Rising and Fires of Heaven have both been like these just sound good. Like they don't have anything.
Well, the Shadow Rising, I sort of understand because we had like the bubbling up of the shadow entities at various points within the book, didn't we? So I could sort of that one sort of makes sense. Dragon Reborn makes sense. The Great Hunt and the others all make sense. Yeah, I don't know. The Fires of Heaven.
Mm.
Excellent point, Sam. I have absolutely no idea why it's called the Fires of Heaven.
Well, there we
Hopefully,
go.
someone will let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Speaking of the comments, let's close this shop down.
Yep.
Um, if you have liked this video, please give it a like. Um, please, lots of extra likes on this one because I abandoned my wife and our newborn baby to record this with Matt for an hour. So lots of likes so that we know it's worth it. The same with subs. Lots of extra subs, please. And of course, drop a comment down below if you have read The Fires of Heaven and you would like to talk to us about it or ask us how we thought about certain specific things. Anything you want to chat about, drop it down there. And of course, see you next month for Lord of Chaos. I don't know
Yeah, it's
when
exciting.
I will get to it because I've got a lot of self-published books to read for SPFBO. But maybe
Yes.
I will definitely start reading Lord of Chaos before the end of the month. It's just whether I'll finish it or not. We'll
You
find out.
mean you mean this might be the first time I finish before you?
It might be because I'm
Okay.
currently
I'm not going to commit to that yet.
reading The Will of the Many right now, and then after The Will of
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Many, I'm going to read a sci-fi short story collection in the Sun
hmm
Eater series, and then after that, I'll read some self-published fantasy stuff. So yeah, I don't know when I will get
Okay.
to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading something completely different. I'm finishing off uh, a bit of a
Oh,
easy reading crime one. I've only got 100 pages left of that, so that'll probably be done in the next day or two because it's
mm,
very, very quick reading.
mm.
And then I'm probably going to start it, I think.
Ooh. Yeah, you will
So,
almost definitely finish before me because I've got 400
so
pages of The Will of the Many left.
yeah. So hopefully, oh, that'll be a new take that I have to remember everything.
Yeah, you'll have to be like me and go to the wiki and
Yeah,
just have to
exactly. Remember what happened. Yeah.
yeah, try and uh hide your eyes from seeing spoilers. So I've seen loads now.
Oh no.
By accidentally clicking something on the wiki and like the first line of a character bio is like this person killed so and so, and I'm like, oh
So
my
it
god,
hasn't happened yet.
like why would you put that in the first line?
Yeah, at least do it in chronological order. Come on.
Yeah,
Ah, anyway, we were closing down, I think.
yeah. Let's let's get on the move, and we will see you guys next month. Goodbye.
Lovely. Bye.